it resulted in developing half the property into a residential subdivision has been the intention. I want to say that it's been the intention of the applicant since August of 24. I know this because our staff has met with the applicant over the months of August to December, discussing road configurations, lot configurations and such, because he was intending to split off that acreage and create a subdivision. Now, unfortunately, in all those discussions, nothing was put in writing or I don't recall anybody saying, first step is you got to remove half this acreage from your conditional use permit before we proceed with, splitting off half the property to develop a subdivision. So that didn't occur. That's on our planning department. It's also on the applicant, because the condition of amending your resolution is very clear in the resolution. It's very clearly stated, and I won't be able to pull it off there right now, but secondly, the requirement to like I said, sorry, the requirement to first obtain approval to remove half the property from the conditional use permit was not addressed. And so skipping this step has resulted in a bunch of actions without proper approval of permits. Some of the actions that have been approved without an amendment approval, or that have taken place without an approved amendment, are that the 76-acre property has been subdivided into 2 parcels. You can do that if both parcels, before you begin and after the subdivision, are over 35 acres without coming to the planning department for any kind of review. A house with an ADU has been built on the northern parcel. You can build your first house on a vacant parcel without having to come to planning department for site plan review. An unpermitted septic system has been constructed for the house. I say houses because there's actually a house and what looks to be an ADU also built there, which you can do without having to come to the planning department for a site plan review too. A road has been constructed and named for the 8-lot subdivision, for which we have an application that's currently under review. And that's what brought this situation, to light, and is why we're here now, because the request is to remove this acreage from the conditional use permit to be able to proceed. And the road from Tessman has been named subsequently because in anticipation of building a subdivision, there is the naming of the road, and the venue buildings have been readdressed. So these things have taken place as a result of missing this step, but the applicant is here to request that to be done. Let's see, public comments that we've received. Just a bullet point list here. 70 acres remaining in agricultural use is something that's been mentioned. That there's a 4-bedroom residence not included in the original notices or site plans. There's concern about, like I said, the use of mag chloride on the road next to irrigation ditches. There's concern about the 90-degree corner at the site entrance. It is damaged and appears wet, but as I understand it, that was from some construction that was not done by the applicant to install a culvert, and then some mag chloride was laid over that area. So that's why it appears wet. Some concern that they think that there should be a revised traffic study before further development. But this is not to talk about the subdivision. The subdivision is not what we're considering tonight. We're considering the request to take the 36.15 acres out of the conditional use permit property. And then concerns over aggregate septic system installations exceeding the 2,000 gallons per day. That's the state regulations. If you have multiple septic systems and they in aggregate go over 2,000 gallons per day, then it's a higher level of review by the state. But I believe the septic system that was installed for the house is on the northern parcel. So they're not on the same parcel. but I'm just sharing what some of the public comments were. So recommendations to the planning commission are that you need to determine whether to recommend approval, denial, or approval with changes in response to the requested amendments. And in case of an approval recommendation, to recommend to the county commissioners to, number one, rescind the resolution that that is for the conditional use permit for the 76 acres, and to recommend amendments to the conditions that are compliant with the land use code and the use specific standards for an event venue for a new resolution. That'll just be for the, I think, bottom 38 acres. And that's it. And the applicant is here, and I think that we have a few neighbors here for public comment.
Let's open it first on up to our staff, questions that we may have. Jacob, do we want to start with you on your end? Any questions directed towards the staff,
Yeah,
sir?
regarding septic system. May know the answer to this, but was the system not put in under regs because it fell under the 35-acre rule? That they weren't required to come in for a septic permit? Or,
I want to be careful because I want to keep it narrowly focused on the consideration of the request, but because that pertains to they requested a permit, they issued a permit, they installed it, it's inspected, it didn't pass, that's the status.
and that was because of the kind of fuzziness of the process.
No, it didn't have anything to do with this, it just was never granted. But again, that's sort of separate. It's a little all messed up, mixed together right now, but
What in the land use code permits the subdivision of, like, can you subdivide a conditional use permit property, or is it another step?
you can subdivide it, I presume, I would be, I don't know that I can say that authoritatively, but it's still subject to the conditional use permit because it's still the entire area that was first made subject to the conditional use permit.
Therefore, wouldn't necessarily have to split it from the conditional permit. Like if we deny this, could he still subdivide it as the entire 70?
That would be a bit difficult to do a clustered subdivision in the 76 acre parcel as a whole parcel, and he would also have to remerge the parcels now.
And then were there any notes on the plat that had the condition? We conditioned it to stay that. Were there plat notes that said it was gonna stay the same?
I believe there's a plat associated with the conditional use permit. It's just the conditional use permit is recorded in a resolution.
Do we not update plats when they go through a CUP?
No,
That, when do we update plats? Just for subdivision?
yes,
I see.
when the legal description of the property changes.
Those are my questions for staff.
Thank you. Tony,
I'm good.
Matt?
Just a couple questions. Do we know how much property needs to be included in the conditional use permit? I mean, we're focusing on the large building up there and how much property around it, so if he has to come in for an additional conditional use permit, how big is that piece gonna be? And what's gonna happen to the remaining portion of that southern part that they're splitting off? Is that intended to become a subdivision at some point in time?
That would have to be a question for the applicant.
Okay, we can address that when he comes up.
Yes,
Yeah, so
I'm okay with that. It's just-
the northern end, the idea was to split that off, or split that farm, the original property in half. And leaving the south 35 with the special use permit and the big building.
Right,
And then the northern half to then come back and ask to do a cluster subdivision.
and but you also want to maybe do that with the other part of this, of the south there?
No, the south is.
Okay,
it's
so that's, yeah, I'm
a-
trying to wrap my
So the
mind
south is,
around big building
and 35,
and 35.
yep, and
So
no,
we're just splitting it right in half, so the north part can be the subdivision.
correct.
I'm good. Thank you.
Lane?
I'm good.
So when we originally approved this, we approved it with so much ag land, correct? Okay. How does the, and I guess it's a double question. So we approved it with ag land. Now he's wanting to have a land use permit amendment is what we would probably call that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do we need to also keep in concept that even if he decides to do this cluster subdivision, that so much of it still needs to be an ag, or is that not something we need to discuss?
Yeah, again, I don't want to get into the
Right,
subdivision.
that's why I'm
right?
asking the question.
Right now, as it stands, the current permit, records in the business plan that, 6 acres would be developed into the event venue and
Mhm.
the remaining 70 acres would remain in ag. So there's that,
So the 6 acre event area is the south side of this.
correct?
The other 70 acres is the north side that has the large building.
No, the 6 acres is in the middle of the 76 acres.
6 acres in the middle, okay, okay.
But the northern, I will say this just about the subdivision, that it's only 12 acres that are developed, 12 and a half out of the 35.
Okay,
So, but I don't want to get off into the subdivision.
that's fine. So really what we're needing to address is the water mag chloride for dust mitigation instead of the crush gravel. The extended hours, instead of going till 9 PM, they would like to go to 10 PM. We're assuming all week long, is that kind of, or is there a special time of year? Do you know how that extension would be?
Just,
Yeah, that's all it was, okay? And then the other object is to remove the RV hookups, which I believe there were 10 of them,
well, not remove them, just not develop them.
not develop them, okay? Okay, that's my questions for right now then. Victoria?
So just for clarification on the RV hookups, there are 10 spaces for people to park and camp, but there's no sewer or water now.
That's correct.
Originally, we were okay to put in full hookups.
Mhm.
And we just decided that we don't need to do that. And so because we're amending the application anyway, then we just thought we'd clean up the language and shorten that up. There's no reason to leave that. We don't think that we're gonna need to expand that in the future. So if somebody wants to park a camper there or an RV there for an event for an evening, then that's fine, but they wouldn't have any sewer hookups or power.
So they'd be self-contained.
Now, conditions within the land use code regarding campsites, especially over 5, that you have to follow certain campground rules for disposal of waste and water hookups. I'm pretty sure that that was the reason we have that in there, is because it's not like an optional thing for comfort, it's for sanitation.
I believe that we defer to the state regulations for campgrounds.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, Edward, because he's a little bit more familiar with the RV codes. But dry camping is a
So
possibility.
in the state of Colorado regs, they break in 5 different areas for what they regulate in that one document. You have primitive camping, which is you walk in, there's no hookups, there's no power, there's no electricity or nothing, and that has a lower standard of what they require. And the fact that he has no hookups and it's all fully self-contained. And there's no, it would be right on the edge of that primitive part, because it would be improved surface that they park on,
Mhm.
but they're not offering hookups, water, power, so the level of requirements for the state is much smaller.
Okay.
That's all I
Sure.
have for now.
So we have the option to bring the applicant up if you would like to speak and have anybody address. I think Matt had maybe a question to go to potentially, or maybe he might has that answered. Is there anything, Mr. Prock, that you would like to add or speak about this?
I don't think I really have anything to add. I think that Sean did a good job in explaining things, but pretty much we just wanna, especially use permit, we just wanna cut that acreage and keep it at about 35 acres or whatever, 46 acres, to the south. And that's really what we're discussing.
Okay, perfect. So everybody is good with their comments at this point? We can go to public comment? Okay. So I believe I saw one person here potentially, Clark, is that right? Or Claire, sorry. Claire, sorry, so sorry.
Handwriting.
That's okay, not a problem. I'll just say Clark. If I get it wrong, I'll throw Claire out. I'll just keep throwing names out. Miss Claire, what is your last name?
Hi, Doc.
Hi, Doc. Would you be so kind as to come up here and you want to speak, is my understanding correct?
Yes.
When you come up to the speaker, make sure you're speaking into it. Please present your name fully and your address for the record, please, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do I need to turn this on or?
Nope, everything should be good. If you want to pull it towards you, you can do that. It's up to you, my dear. There you
Okay.
go. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Claire. Hi, Doc, like you're greeting your doctor. I live at 2739 Ridge Road. It's Mesa Crest Estates, which is the subdivision to the northeast of this property. And I'm here to oppose this proposal. If we're not supposed to talk about the subdivision, I'll limit my comments to splitting the parcel and extending the outdoor activity time to 10 p.m. My main concern is splitting the parcel because I came to the public hearings in 23 and 24, and in every single meeting and every single document, it was stated that outside of the 2 to 3 acre development with parking, the remainder of the parcel will remain in ag production. And we heard that directly from Mr. Prock on more than one occasion. Saying he wants to be a good neighbor, it's gonna stay in ag. The commissioners were saying it's important to keep ag land in ag. So to find out in less than a year almost after the original permit was decided on that, oh no, we're gonna split it now, and things are changed. So I don't know if this is an issue of mission creep, where, you know, it started off, yeah, we just want this little event center on 2 to 3 acres and it's growing and growing. Where did this additional house and structure come from? And what's to say that the south 35, 38 acres won't be subdivided or something in the future? So I'd like to see it remain in ag as originally applied.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Thank you for your time tonight. So that was the only individual that I saw signed up on the clipboard. Did I miss anybody? On the proc, yes, sir?
Can I?
If you're signed up here, you can. If not, I can have you sign it, then you can sure make
I'll
comments.
sign
Okay, it's coming your way. Here it's coming. Emmett will have it here in just a second. Please state your full name, your address, sir, for the record.
My name is John Elmy, A-L-M-Y. I live at 2694 Ridge Road, same subdivision as Claire does. I've been there for 34 years. I'm mostly concerned about the noise part of this. Sound really travels at night, sitting up there on the hill. And look at, you know, the potential. I know there were some things built in, as I recall, about the orientation of the structures and where the sound would be projected. I'm hoping that that comes to pass and there's no change with that. And it's not, you know, suddenly it's advantageous to turn it and face it the other way down towards where I live. And I don't know what 55 decibels sounds like, but we all know how sound travels at night. And I think, I would hope the commission would think long and hard about this issue of noise. And is there a way to make sure that we're gonna mitigate that somehow through some sound barriers to ensure that it's constructed as envisioned, that sound will not be projected down towards the subdivision? Because, yeah, for 99% of the county, it doesn't matter what it sounds like, but it sure does to the people that live right there at the bottom of the hill. And by all indications, this is gonna be pretty successful venture. And so there could be a lot of activity up on that hill. I think 9 o'clock at night is a reasonable time to move everybody inside. You know, they talked about the days are long. I don't know if they're looking for a year round. It wasn't clear in the in the statement that I read, whether they're looking to move it till 10 o'clock year round or only when the sun's up. I mean, it's kind of short on the details in terms of exactly what it is that they would like to change. So, I have some concerns about the other things, but the bottom line for me is the sound. That will impact me directly and my neighbors as well. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Thank
So,
you.
sir, how was the sound? I think you started out by saying currently the sound was not an issue. You were concerned that if,
No, maybe I misspoke. No, it's always been an issue with me.
oh, it has. always
Yes,
been.
yes, always been an issue with me.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because you mentioned something about if something got turned or changed.
Well,
That's why I was asking, but
no, I think in some of the documents that I've reviewed, it said that the orientation of the openings to the venue and maybe like a sound stage would be, and maybe I'm mistaken, would projecting sound opposite of where the two subdivisions are, Snafflebit and Mesa Crest. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And is that gonna happen?
There's not gonna be any change, but that is the way it's set up now. Has there been any problems with sound currently?
I have not heard any, no. I don't know how many venues there's been. There's been some talk around the neighborhood that there was a while ago, they could hear quite a bit of stuff going on up there. But again, I'm cautious, and once this cat's out of the bag, it's gonna be tough to get it back. And so I'd like some kind of thoughtfulness go into, well, we can do it on an experimental basis. Let's look at what kind of mitigation we could put in, because it's not only me, but I imagine whoever winds up buying houses in that subdivision are gonna be impacted even more by this sound. So anyway, I think I'm pretty clear. I was a little disappointed that it was kind of glossed over by the planning commission is really nothing to worry about, but I beg to differ.
Did you sign in, sir?
he did.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Sorry, thank you.
I just gotta check the box that thank you for reminding me. Put my X. Thank you.
Yeah, I would.
So I have a question for the applicant, Mr. Prock. So, because this has been brought up about the hours, are you intending to have the extended hours go year round? Are you extended that hour to only be on weekends? What are your thoughts there?
The main thought was in the summertime, is the sun doesn't go down until about 10. We have those longer days, and so it's just a little bit tougher for my staff to herd everybody in, get off the grass
Mhm.
and get inside. It's not that we're having some crazy concert that's gonna last and this loud.
Okay.
We've had a bunch of quite a few events so far, and as my neighbor just said, that we really haven't had too much of a problem or haven't had any problems with sound. You know, we just got done with high school prom, and that wasn't too long ago, and didn't have any problems, so.
So would
But-
you
but
think
mainly in the summer.
summer hours, and would you think only on the weekends, or would you think summer hours till 10, Monday through whatever your event schedule is?
I would like to do summer hours until 10.
Okay.
Cause I'd be happy with that.
Okay, thank you.
That'd be fun.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I'd like to speak. I
Oh,
need to
okay,
sign in
hold-
as well.
Okay, hold on. We need you to sign in if you haven't
Yes,
already,
sign
sir.
in. Ron Hayes, Hays, 2153 Tessman Road, Delta. About the noise issues, there is a problem. There has been noise issues. Not only with the noise from there, but the traffic on the road. Both on the county road and the road that leads to the venue. As far as the timing, it needs to stop at 9 for the benefit of the people who live in the neighborhood, not for the people who rent the facility. We're there 24/7, not for a couple hours. You know, our views have been ruined. Need I say more about that? And that also leads into the road. It's dusty. Something needs to be done. You know, who cares what it is? The county put enough mag chloride on that road cut that they put on the corner that it's bleeding into the ditches anyway. So, you know, that was brought up in another public comment by Mrs. Tonget as well. So that's the other issue, the infrastructure leading to that. You guys really need to take a hard look at what you're doing up there and throwing at the roads. Yesterday at 4:30, a tree blew across the road. Right there before Testman Road. Took 17 minutes for a deputy to get there, and the county road crew was down the road. They were there in 12 minutes. Between the county road, the 2 guys from the county road crew and some neighbors, we got the tree moved out of the way. But, you know, you've got to look at those infrastructure, like Mr. Almey's lived there 32 years. I've been out there on that mesa my whole life. Nothing's changed in over 30 years as far as those roads are concerned, except the population. So, you know, be considerate. What if it was in your backyard? It almost is. So, thank you.
So don't get up yet. Hold on, we may have a question for you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, sir. Appreciate that. So the traffic, do you believe that it's traffic, Mr. Hayes, that's going to this venue?
Absolutely.
Okay,
The prom was 2 different.
Okay.
You know, the parents went up and watched the Grand March.
right.
And then they all left, and then all the kids left later. But the noise, you know, it was definitely noticeable, and it wasn't anything major. You can hear the nail guns from that new house being built. You know, it sounds like a shooting gallery up there. It's common sense, people. Anything else?
The road, he's proposing to do water and mag chloride mitigation over the crushed gravel.
Do something.
So, I mean, that's a question over the dust mitigation.
Mag chloride does nothing but mess up your cars. Who in here hasn't
Yeah,
complained
once
about
it
it?
sets.
Yeah, no, seriously, you
No.
know?
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay.
County road leading to the venue, it's asphalt.
Mhm.
So the dust control is from the county road to the venue, that's where.
It's on his property,
Right, but that's where the dust is coming from
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
road, not from the county.
not from the county road.
And the county did mag chloride his road?
They installed a new culvert right there at the corner. And put a 3-foot cut in it. Now it's a nice speed bump or a ditch, however you want to look at it, but they mag chloride the heck out of it. And there's enough mag chloride in that cut to put on that road.
Anyone else? Lane, anybody?
No, I'm good.
Several other event venues going in the county, so you know, you guys need to set a precedent on commercialism. Lodging taxes for RV spots and rooms for rent, you know, make some money.
Mhm.
You know, these taxes are deemed for the county. And when it's zoned ag, you're not getting those. And what's ag about prom?
A lot of farm and ranch kids are.
Okay.
That's about it.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that did not sign up that is interested or now interested in speaking on this? So.
Name of your venue.
Longhorns and Laces.
Mhm. So we're gonna close it off to public comment. Let's bring it back around table. Now that we've heard public comment, thoughts about the 3 items that were being addressed with is the water and mag chloride for the dust mitigation, it seems like, versus the crushed gravel. That seems to be something that the dust seems to be coming from the venue versus from the county road is what we just heard. extend the hours from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. During mainly summer hours because of the daylight. And removing or not going through with the RV hookups as they had proposed.
Question for staff, what was the justification for continuing talks and planning, for the development of those, talks, it sounds like you've been talking about subdivision in light of the resolution that says it's all gonna remain one.
Yeah,
Did we just miss that?
yeah, I mean, I came over in August and
Right.
there were already, meetings occurring where engineering, planning department were sitting down,
Okay.
discussing lot configurations and road configurations. Unfortunately, I wasn't a party to the, conditional use permit from the planning department at that time to have the memory of it,
Okay.
those occasions.
So to swing it back to the applicant, what was your justification in that? Did you just simply forget that we had tied it off to the main property, or?
Yeah, I guess I didn't understand the fact that we talked about also a 2 and 3 acre envelope on there. And I guess my thought was that was where the special use was tied as opposed to the higher.
Regarding the roads, currently the condition is asphalt,
Crushed
Crushed
asphalt to
asphalt.
mitigate dust.
but that hasn't happened yet, so what's our recourse for that, or has it happened? Just gravel.
I'm not sure what has been done in terms of using crushed asphalt for dust mitigation.
So it's gravel right now. I asked at the time to be able to put crushed asphalt on it to help mitigate dust.
Right.
But I would, in addition to that, I would like to be able to, either add water or mag chloride to best do that. I've had, crushed asphalt has been difficult to get or a little bit tougher to get until it warms up and everybody's starting to crush. So we just got some this last week and we'll start applying.
So you have started some dust mitigation?
Yeah.
That's great. What is the current zoning?
835.
Mhm.
And I think that's all my questions.
Tony, any questions, sir? Are you looking at?
He's gonna sign up for it.
The noise mitigation at prom, was it a DJ or a band?
It was a DJ.
So that's. What's the state's noise, or 50 decibels at the property line, is that
That's right.
do you got decibel meter? You own one?
I know.
You should probably buy one, go to the property lines and make sure that you're not over that your property lines, I mean.
I do have it.
I was gonna say, if the county gets called, is that our recourse as you?
I have a decibel meter.
But it's I'm involved in another venue in Garfield County, and we got more rules than you can, it's insane, but. That is one of the requirements, and we do check and we do have concerts there, and you have to, the state gets involved, you have to follow the rules. And we've had to turn the band, you have to turn the band down or the DJ down if it's a noise issue. And, I mean, it's not complicated to do. I don't know, outside of that, and I don't know, I guess my other comment is to the planning commission is these venues are getting more and more and more and more and more popular. And they're going to, because we do live in kind of a unique area that has a lot of different things. We're gonna have to live inside of some of the county rules and the state rules and the neighborhood requirements. But that's not what we're here to discuss. The DJ was inside, not outside,
Yes, sir.
so I'm just, how many outside concerts do you do? Any? None?
No.
So you can't close the building down and suppress the music if you had to,
Right.
but that's a whole different issue, so anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. That's it, that's all I got.
Thank you. Matt?
As I recall, we went through a lot of this before.
Mm-hmm.
We all agreed, public agreed. I too hear nail guns going off on the other Mason. And sound is unique, it travels funny sometimes. But we have to abide by, as Tony said, we have to abide by that 55 decibel rule, and the only way to enforce that is have the owner check it. You know, I don't see a problem with that. So, yeah. As for this proposal, I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, sir. Lane?
In regard to the hours, I think 9 o'clock is late enough for anybody unless it's Waylon and Willie, which it probably wouldn't be nowadays. So I'd say shut the music down at 9 o'clock.
I just need clarification. I apologize if I missed this. To the applicant, are you looking, do the events end at 10 PM then? Is that what you're asking?
They move indoors at
They
10
just
p.m.
move indoors, so
Yes.
they go past that. So the issue that was brought up about the vehicle traffic leaving extends past that time then, correct?
Correct.
What time does,
I think it's midnight is when everything closes down at the event venue and then people leave.
thank you.
And people are leaving at different times, I'm assuming throughout that evening. It's not like everybody leaves exactly at one time. Okay.
Correct.
Victoria?
How long has the venue been open?
It's been open since November of 24.
24. And you haven't done anything with the roads until recently?
They've been gravelled to this point. But we haven't applied crushed asphalt.
And was that part of the approval for the venue, was to use crushed asphalt?
It was to put crushed asphalt on it for dust mitigation.
And that hasn't happened until recently. You've had many events.
Right, we've used water or we've used other methods, but the asphalt hasn't been as.
And
Hasn't been available. Is that why you haven't used it?
That's correct.
Okay.
In
there
the
we go.
wintertime,
That's
there's
my
like
fault.
crushing a lot of asphalt. So, and that's why I wanted to add these other methods.
And this is this the first event venue that you guys have worked on, developed, owned?
My parents have one in Montrose.
Okay. So my big issue is I feel like there's been a lot of unapproved things that have happened since the application was approved. Developments, things that were not followed. I mean, if it's a condition of approval, it means it needs to be done before the events start happening. So you're having neighbors that are dusted out by gravel, and I live off a gravel road. They're not fun. And this is a lot of people coming up and down your road on, I don't know how often of a basis, but enough to bug your neighbors. And so my kind of beef with that is that you should have taken the appropriate steps before opening to the public, because those were the conditions of approval. And with the RV hookups, we don't have any conditions keeping people from staying more than just the evening of your event. And so this opens a door for, I mean, if I own a private parcel, I can't have someone come park an RV in my front yard. But as a commercial property, you're able to have 10 without any kind of hookups or electricity or water available to them, and there's no limitation on how long they can stay. I just see a lot of issues with that. Yeah, I feel like, and what about the house that was put on there? That wasn't approved, was that just, I mean,
That's not part of this.
no, isn't there a,
When you have a vacant parcel, you don't have to come in for a site plan review. Build your first house on the vacant
Yeah.
parcel,
so there's no house on the
That's right.
event venue parcel have?
not on the event venue
Okay, just
part.
understood that.
There's a lodge there, but that was a part of the plan.
Okay, I guess that's just kind of my opinions on that. I feel like there's some things like, sort of an event venue that's gonna be growing, these are pretty relaxed conditions. And, I feel like in some cases, people that are doing less have stricter conditions and, I would agree that some of the things we put on there were for a reason. 9 PM is late enough and out. I understand they want to stay out later in the summer, I do. But this, you know, if it's bothering the neighbors, I think 9 PM is a good time to move them indoors. And I do believe the RV hookup should be there. Just because we don't have restrictions on how long people can stay. And, the removal of the parcel is a whole nother fight to take, so just on those top three, those are my opinions.
Anyone else?
About the RV, I wonder if we consider camping requirements in lieu of essentially making him build RV spaces, because essentially I think what he's coming in doing is saying, look, I'll be a little less intensive by taking out RV hookups. And it's kind of a trade-off, but to your point, I do think some language about camping should be considered. I can't imagine we didn't do anything on the first round, but I didn't see anything.
Well, I think on the first round, Jacob, when this was proposed, is that for those individuals that would be coming for a venue,
Yeah.
that they would have the availability to come and stay in an RV, or at that time, they also had an area that they were gonna have some apartments. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Clark, but you were gonna have some apartments set up where people could then also stay, the wedding party or whatever would be able to do that, or people that were coming in from out of town, if they wanted to stay up at the venue, they would be able to do this. Is that? kind of
Right,
your
I'm
preference?
just doing this to lighten the load on the whole thing, so I'm taking out these 10 units to lighten the whole thing. I mean, otherwise, state statute and state law applies to me the same as it does parking an RV anywhere else in the state of
Sure.
Colorado. Or anywhere else in Delta County for that matter, so I'm not any different than, and I'm not asking for anything above and beyond that. I'm actually slowing it down by saying, I'm not gonna have RVs there and hookups.
And they're gonna be self-contained units.
What?
So they're not gonna need any hookup anyway.
What it says in the current resolution in condition number 8. It's really about septic systems, but the first sentence says the applicants have proposed to add up to 10 RV spaces where guests can park overnight.
Right.
During an event.
So-
Condition number 1 also says that final site plan will need to illustrate a parking layout that meets the required parking areas for the event facility. 10 rentable rooms, 10 RV spaces, and an event parking space for up to 400 people.
So maybe to come back to your question, Victoria, when you said about how long, it sounds like what it was for was mainly the convenience for those people that were coming to an event and they wanted to come in an RV, or maybe they were out of town, that it was just going to be for that event. So it sounds like it's not going to be for, as you're thinking, an extended.
Ban that, but there's no, really substantive, language to keep that from happening. I mean, right now, they own it, it's their word. We've had plenty of people come in here, who give us their word and then do whatever they want.
Okay.
You might not always own this, and then there's an approval of 10 spaces for people to park and camp with no time limit and no facilities.
Okay.
That's kind of my concern.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Jacob, anything else that you wanted to add as you were going through, or? Tony, Matt, I want to make sure I'm getting,
Yeah, as I recall, was there in the original proposal, to be a small building that was the rentable rooms? So you haven't built that, correct?
No, it's there,
Oh, it's, okay.
there's a 4-bedroom.
Okay.
Here.
I'm just familiar with the big giant.
there's that.
So are you just getting rid of the RV hookups or are you getting rid of the RV pad too though?
I don't even have RV pads. Like,
So you don't want RV pads or RV hookups?
no, if somebody brings an RV and they wanna park there for the night and their
In the
wedding
parking
party,
lot.
then they park in the parking lot and they leave the next day. But there's no extended.
So you don't want
stay.
any RV pads, no RV hookups?
No.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like.
And if he does go with the subdivision in the future, who he, current owner or somebody else, at 2,000 gallons per day, by deleting 10 of those would certainly contribute to a more amenable septic plan, correct? Approvals.
I believe
For sure.
so, for sure.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
I think he's just trying to trim this thing down a little bit, set it right, that we didn't get right in the beginning. So, are we ready to make a proposal here?
I think we're getting close. I'll make sure we have no more comments here. Anybody else? Okay. Matt, if you want to,
Yeah,
right ahead.
I motion and approve those following the recommendations on the screen. Approve the control of dust with water, mag chloride, and crushed asphalt. I would maybe word that differently and say and or for each of those.
Okay.
And approve the extension of the outdoor time to 10 PM, because I know everybody goes beyond 10 PM in their own yards with their own outdoor activities. And I recommend we approve the removal of the 10 RV hookups and parking pads. And approve the removal of that parcel number 3493141000005. The northern 36.15 acres from the plan number 22-066/Proc conditional use permit. I recommend we approve all those.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
I have some potential conditions there.
Okay, so we're gonna have some potential conditions to it. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jacob.
just on the same conditions, at least for. I took notes, perhaps we tie the 10 PM to this summer,
That's what my thought was.
say September, and then conversely on the other side, we tie that. Crushed asphalt. Essentially, we tie the other things like mag chloride and water to the non-summer hours. Essentially requiring to still do crushed asphalt, because as I understand it, that's the best mitigation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we essentially allow him to use those other things in seasons that it's not available.
Okay,
And I had May to September for the summer hours on the time, so we'd essentially say he has to use crushed asphalt May to September. And then allowing.
and are you setting hours certain time of the year, like hypothetically made a, I mean, or are you just saying, when you say summer hours, it's a little,
Seasonal, whatever it is, but at least for conversation right now, those are kind of my thoughts.
I believe that would be self-limiting on the hours. In the winter time, nobody's gonna wanna be outside at 10 PM. That's just common sense,
sure it is.
you know. What's a big problem with 10 being all year round?
Thoughts on tying crushed asphalt, because my thought is if we add the others, there's potential that they never add crushed asphalt, and we just use mag chloride, which, you know,
They're gonna do the crushed asphalt, well, in the long run, crushed asphalt lasts longer, you don't have to maintain it every day. Crushed, using water, mag chloride lasts around 30 to 45 days. Using water lasts 2 or 3 hours. So in the long run, he's gonna go after the crushed asphalt to keep it there to mitigate using water and mag chloride.
And it sounds like the reason why he hasn't done the crushed asphalt was because if he started it in November, he was in the winter time. It would have
And
not
over a
been,
period of time, once you put down crushed asphalt. Other than going back and fixing some bad places on the road and whatnot, some potholes. He's probably gonna have to do it once every 10 years,
so
well, if not,
let's redo that then with the amendment so that we get that corrected the way that. Cause he read it the way it is currently, you see what I'm saying? So I think we're gonna need to,
just and or.
and for a while, you're gonna have to do the and or thing, I mean.
I think I did say and or, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
He did, okay. So what about the hours? When you said extend hours to 10 PM? We're just gonna leave it at that. We're not gonna use the summer hours. Okay,
That's just.
Those are my two.
Did you want to consider anything about noise levels as part of the outdoor hours?
I think the state regulates that already.
And the recourse is if the neighbor complains, or goes.
Never just go out.
Okay, so somebody complains. But it may not be a bad idea to also maybe take that recommendation and test it. So that way you maybe don't get that call. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Did you, Angela, did you catch who did what? Okay. So let's go around and all in favor?
Nay,
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, so we have 2 nays, Victoria and Lane. Make sure we get those down. But we have a majority of yays, so it does pass. Mr. Prock, good luck.
Okay.
And I think, keep in mind some of the things that were brought up this evening. I think it makes good neighbors and go from there. Thank you for your time this evening. I greatly appreciate it. Okay, the clipboard, there we go. You're already thinking yep. Okay, it seems like the majority of everybody is here for our next one, which is project 24-071 Trademark Construction LLC. I've got a full list of people that are either potentially wanting to speak or at least on the list. Are you gentlemen leaving to come back, or you're gone? Okay, thank you. Okay, so that takes care of the individuals there. Anybody else that did not sign up that is intending to want to speak this evening? Do we have anybody online at this point, Brittany? I know there was somebody trying to connect with the Zoom.
Yes, there is.
Who is online with us?
Hi, it's Shelley DeConish. I'm an attorney in Grand Junction. I represent Rhonda Hyman and Ms. Martine. They own lots 1 and 2 in the Biscuit subdivision.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else that's joining us online? Okay, so we're going to open this up to a staff report, have them give us an update on this, and we will go forward.
So just a reminder to everybody, this project was tabled at our last PC hearing on April 9th because a neighborhood meeting had not been conducted beforehand as required by the land use code. Just a little reminder of what the application is for. It's to consider a preliminary plat subdividing 10 acres as 1 zoning district into 5 lots. You can see that it's just a little bit north of Cedar Ridge on 2325 road. Did I get that right? Thank you.
Yeah.
And next slide there, you can see just a little bit more detail of kind of where it's at, and that it's in Res 1 zoning. Next slide, you can see the subdivision plan. It's 10 acres, 10-acre lot 3 in the Biscuit Minor subdivision. Want to subdivide it into 5 lots, all approximately 2 acres in size. So we discussed this application last week, but a summary of the application is up there on the slide. Access is from 2325 road. The current access is, but the proposed one will also be from 2325 road. If you go back on the slide, you can see that it's just going to be a short little stubby cul-de-sac road that comes in and access to all lots from that road. Next slide. Domestic water, there wasn't 1 existing tap already with the lot, and 4 additional taps have been approved by the Town of Orchard City Board of Trustees. So water is secured for all 5 lots. No irrigation with the 5 lots will be provided. And there are no existing septic systems on any of the property currently. And there is has been discussed with the Town of Orchard City, since it's in their growth management area, for the applicant to sign a pre-annexation agreement with the town in the case that they eventually bring infrastructure up there or sewer. We have drafted conditions of approval. I can go through those, and then after that, I'll probably just turn it over to you all to talk with the applicant about the neighborhood meeting.
That'd be great. So that was
So-
the reason we tabled it, was because there was not a neighborhood meeting taking place,
That's right.
correct? Okay.
That's right.
I wanna make sure.
Misstep in procedure. Project 24-071 is approved as a preliminary, these are draft conditions, as a preliminary plat creating 5 lots, one zoning designation located on the east side of 2325 Road, Cedar Ridge. This approval shall expire and the plat is considered vacated if a final plat is not submitted within 12 months from the date of preliminary plat approval by the Board of County Commissioners. Written request to extend this time frame must be received by the planning department at least 30 days prior to the prescribed expiration. All existing and proposed easements and encumbrances, including but not limited to existing and proposed utility easements, shared access, and water delivery shall be shown on the final plat. Number 3, proof of adequacy of water supply is required for preliminary plats according to Chapter 5, Section 3 of the Land Use Code, Water Supply and Waste Disposal. All water sources, taps, springs, or wells within the subject property shall be listed on the final plat prior to recording. On-site wastewater treatment systems, permits will need to be applied for once the lots are developed. OWTS will be designed, installed, and permitted according to CDPHE and Delta County Environmental Health Regulations. Number 4, access permits shall be issued for each lot within the subdivision. Said permits shall be completed and issued prior to final plat, each phase approval, according to Chapter 4, Section 2, road access and circulation. Number 5, a maintenance agreement shall be provided for ongoing maintenance, right-of-way mowing, and snow removal at the expense of the owners of the lots in the subdivision, generally by way of the property owners association. The maintenance agreement shall be recorded in the chain of title of the affected lots. 6, a fire hydrant shall be installed at the intersection of 2325 Road and the new access road to the subdivision. And another shall be installed at the end of the cul-de-sac area accessible by truck. Number 7, a traffic impact study shall be completed. Traffic impact studies shall include at a minimum the information required by Table 5A in traffic impact study scope. Based on the level of study required, said level shall be determined by the county engineer. Number 8, prior to recording the final plat, the plat must include a plat note explaining rights to irrigation water. The final plat must also include the number of shares for each lot. Number 9, prior to accepting a final plat, the applicant shall provide deeds, separate deeds with a legal description of each lot with notarized signatures to be recorded with the final plat. Number 10, the final plat shall include all standard plat notes required by the 24 Land Use Code. Number 11, the applicant shall pay the public sites open space fee of $300 per lot for an increase of 4 lots for a total of $1,200 per resolution number 2021 R007. The open space fees for the project shall be paid in full prior to recording the final plat. And then these ones are additional draft conditions that I added from conversation from last meeting for your consideration. Prior to final plat approval, the applicant shall enter into a pre-annexation agreement with the town of Cedar Ridge. This agreement shall be reviewed and approved by the town and shall be recorded with the Delta County Clerk and Recorder. A reference to the recorded pre-annexation agreement shall be clearly noted on the final plat. 13, no structures on lot 4 shall impede on the irrigation easement running through the lot. That was proposed, but it's sort of redundant to the meeting easement. But number 14, the applicant shall follow the fencing, trash containers, and pet control recommendations of the Colorado Parks and Wildlife to avoid conflicts with wildlife. That's all I have to report on that project. Are there any questions?
Okay.
Sure.
First off, Sean, I appreciate number 12 you added in there, because that was one of my concerns. My question is, with the zoning, can you tell me how we arrived at that zoning for that area?
Res one,
Res one, it's why it goes to the west of 2325 instead of stopping at 2325 when the rest of that's ag 20 west of there? That makes sense.
yeah, it does. I wasn't a party to all of that decision making in the past, but I think it comes down to essentially that's in Cedar Ridge's planned urban growth area, which they've defined in that by those boundaries. And so they have intention of eventually, if they develop they expand annexation of the town of Cedar Ridge and into that area. So it was zoned Res one for that purpose.
It used to be like, we used to have an overlay where the UGA, the GMAs were overlapping, really had them keep. So to rectify it, we added, I think our suggestion was Res 2, 2.5, but I think the VOCC said, let's just throw it all in one. So obviously a little bit smaller than kind of the neighborhood, but luckily we're not seeing 10 1 acre subdivisions, because it could in theory be that. Yeah, it's just.
Okay, I just need clarification. It seemed to me like it should have stopped at 2325.
Yeah, we don't have control, or we do, but we just said anything they identified as growth area will.
Understand.
throw it in.
Thanks.
Okay, Lane, I think you had a question, sir?
If that's been designated urban growth area by Cedar Ridge, how come they're buying water taps in town of Orchard City?
Supplier is.
I can't answer that question.
Matt?
I didn't have a concern here.
Tom? Tony? No, okay. Jacob, anything else, Dan?
Just for my enlightenment, pre-annexation agreement, is that just saying if utilities become available, they have to take them?
Yes, essentially,
And
that's what it
comply.
boils down to, yeah. And be annexed into the town of Cedar Ridge.
Sure. Pay town taxes.
Okay, Matt, let's
I
go
do
back.
have an alibi. We said earlier there would be no irrigation on those lots, yet in these draft conditions, we're saying that irrigation water shall be deeded to each one of the lots based on, I don't know how many acre feet, but what is it? No irrigation or irrigation?
My understanding, there's no irrigation that's been planned to be provided to the lots.
So item number 8,
Yeah,
Let's go back to it.
do we need item number 8? Or are we saying there is no irrigation water, period?
They could buy water.
They could buy their own waters?
We just aren't providing any with the lots.
They're not providing it, but they could
An owner could buy
purchase.
his own
yeah.
water,
Correct.
keep it more ag,
Yes.
you know, keep it green.
If they want to. yeah.
Is there water available from Boyd Ditch?
See, that's the
No.
question. Okay, hold on. Let's stay with our questions to staff and then we can bring the applicant up and maybe ask some specifics of the applicant. Victoria?
Question on number 12, the pre-annexation agreement. So is that gonna affect any properties surrounding this property? Or is that just these lot owners agreeing to be annexed?
just this developer with this development would be a party to that pre-annexation agreement.
And then if they do expand, I mean, I know there's a certain amount of annexation that happens without approval from the people within it. But is this outside of that 3 mile, radius of the growth management area?
No, this is well within 3 miles of the group. I mean, it's. I'm not sure how far it is. I used to know.
I think that's all I have.
Any other questions of staff?
Mile. Yeah,
So applicant, do we want to address any specifics with the applicant? Anybody here? Applicant want to add anything at this point? No? Okay. Sean? Anything else you guys want to add?
No.
Okay, let's open it up to public comment, and I'm gonna start with the name, just whoever wants to come up, but it looks like the first person here was Dale. Are you here? There you go. Come on up, sir. And when you come up, please state your full name and your address, please, for the record. And again, try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
My name is Dale Bradley Call. I live at 18314 2325 Road, which is the lot just across the street from the proposed lot. I was here last time and had heard a number of things being said. I didn't have a copy of the covenants at that point. And since then, I did acquire them and read through them and was somewhat surprised because they're very specific. I made copies if anybody wants copies of those. I was going to read the first paragraph, but in interest of time, I'd like to just kind of summarize what it says. It talks about the 3 properties that are there and that they are under this covenant. It states that for the first 15 years that this was signed, which was in 2005, that there can't be any changes. And then after that, the covenant will continue. But at that point, then the owners of the lots can then make changes to the covenants. But they have to do it together and have to submit it then in order to do that. With that being said, one of the questions that came up again, that the covenant's very specific. And one of the questions about why this can be done had to do with the sections 8 and 9 in the covenants. And specifically in 8, it says each lot cannot be further subdivided into more than 3 lots until 10 years after the individual lot purchase date. And it's not talking about the covenant date, it's talking about the date that it's purchased, which to me is very clear. It's 10 days from the time, or 10 years from the time that this is purchased before they can make further subdivisions. That's really all I have to say.
Questions of this gentleman? Staff? Okay. Thank you, sir, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
No? Governance, yeah. So Victoria made a good point, and I think we brought this up last time as well. I know that the covenants were something that were brought up last time. We are not a board that can decipher or agree or disagree on covenants and that type of thing. That would be more of a civil situation. But we do appreciate you sharing that, but that's something that's not what we actually are able to interpret on, okay? Louise, I have you on here, but you weren't gonna talk, correct?
No.
Okay, just checking, okay. Then I have a Jim. Picario, is that you? Do you have any questions? Are you gonna, you said you might wanna talk on this. Do you wanna hold it?
I'm the applicant.
I know, but did you wanna say anything at this point or not? That's why I was just checking.
All I had was just what happened through our neighborhood meeting.
Okay, do we want to address that right now, or do we want to bring him back at the end? What would you prefer?
It's up to you. You know.
Let's get you at the end. Let's see what the questions are first, and then maybe we'll wrap some of those up. Okay, so Rhonda, are you here? Oh, come on up, my dear.
My name's Ron Hyman. I'm 184132325 Road. I'm lot 2 of the 3 subdivision properties. And as Dale said, the people who purchased the property before trademark, they put in to put 1 house. They have 1 address on there. So I would still think the 10-year. But besides that, I'm still concerned with the septic system perk when you put 5 houses in. My next concern is the quality of houses. Most of the houses he had us go look at are not anything our neighborhood would care to have. They're 3-bedroom, 1 3/4 bath, 1.5 bath, some 1-car garage. It's just like, that's not appropriate for our area. He will do so much damage to our property values. So, yeah, and the wildlife, we have elk and deer who come through. They build 5 houses in that area, on that lot. And we will just be overran more because they will chase everything out. And I'm concerned with noise, I'm concerned with light. I'm concerned with controlling their own animals. Because he doesn't seem to think it's a big deal. Oh, I'm sure you got animals running. No, we don't. We have a very quiet and very nice neighborhood. And I don't understand how, I figured worst case scenario, we'd get 3 houses. At least 3 houses, they'd be on 3 acres, pretty much each. And it gives people some space, it gives the animals some space. And I won't get overran, and Bobby won't get overran in Olson with all the deer and elk. That's all I have to say. My lawyer will speak after, when you call on her.
Okay, thank you for your time this evening. Okay, Larry and Amy, you're not speaking, you just are signed up, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the same, is it Marion? Do I have that name right? You're not gonna speak, but you signed up, okay? And then Ellie, same thing? Yes? Okay, it looks like the next one to speak, that would be Lori and Daryl Olson. And you both can come up, or one of you, whatever you prefer. Just state your full name, sir, and your address.
I'm Daryl Olson and we're at 18299 on 2325 road. And it does say 3, and it's a sad thing, you gotta go to court to argue the issue between 3 and 5 when he bought. And I'm not demeaning him as a person, he voluntarily entered into that agreement when he bought that property. And that's my only statement about that issue, but the other issue, we've already 2 summers ago had water rationing there. And the 60 trees I planted on our property are all watered with irrigation water, and we had none 2 years ago in the summer. And most of us just let our yards die and our trees die, and we paid $800 just this year to clean up what had died and the issue is we're gonna have 5 houses with 2 people on it. We're gonna have to deal with 10 people. Yes, they got the hydrants. Yes, you got the 10-inch steel thing over there. But the bottom line is just like LA, if you got empty reservoirs and there's no water in it, the place is gonna burn to the ground. So I don't know what the future is for the water group. I'm dropping it because I have an old man moment right now, but the bottom line is we've already went through this. We drove up to see. Everything in that valley is controlled by how much snow is up there every fall and how fast it comes off and how it comes off and the infrastructure down there. And those 5 people are I'm glad you've already got the fire mitigation equipment going to be put in. But the bottom line, they still gonna not be able to keep yards alive unless they've got, it costs, Rhonda was paying to keep those trees on her nice home, $300 a month, irrigation water to keep them alive. And we're gonna have 5 residents with people we don't know. And you do have a group of people meeting together. I hope they're smart as we are. Because we have, actually, there's 4 different groups. Down straight below our house is the Breitenhauer group, and they're always coming on our property and watering. And then at an angle over there where the orchard is going to be another group is watering. And then there's 6 in our crowd. We just met with our things and how we water. And then we're going to have that group of 5 residents are going to have to meet. And the bottom line is there's somewhere,
My wife took me around town where they're gonna put 400 residents next 30 years. And my neighbor was on that committee. You're gonna have to have reservoirs, pipes and ditches or drill wells or pumping and piping so that people don't have, what do you call it when it's restricted? Rationing. Because it's not a question if it's gonna happen. It already happened 2 summers ago. And we get 5 families in there just right above us. I guess we just have to get together and say, well, you have this day to do your stuff and everybody rotates on a calendar. But the bottom line, if the water's not there and the infrastructure ain't there to get it to us, it's not gonna be a pleasant situation for any of us.
So you're saying with the 5 additional,
With the 5 additional
that's what you're.
people and you have 2 people in each, we
Sure.
have to, for most of us, we're going, well, the man has the right. He bought it. It says 3 or 6 people.
Mhm.
And so for us, it's pretty simple, either 6 people or 10 people to deal with. And when you got 2 people, there's always gonna be something to argue about how things are done, you know? So I'm just saying that it's not whether, we already drove up to look at the snowpack and see, and I'm going, well, out of the last 6 years, we've had 1 year that we had abundance of irrigation water.
Right.
And then
Okay.
we've already had
You're
rationing.
opposing it the way it is right now, is what we're saying. I mean, that's the best way to, with the 5.
There is no assurance of kicking down the road how these 4 different watering groups are gonna have enough water to not fight all the time. Because we were fighting way before any of this was ever talking about, and we resolved it, how we organized ourselves for irrigation. But the bottom line is, I don't, it's just gonna be a mess
Thank
for
you
that
for your
many
time.
people.
We greatly appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I think John might have already commented. I think he was on the prop one. It's not on here. John, is it Alway? Wasn't he the gentleman that spoke?
All me.
He already spoke, correct? Okay. So, and Ron Hayes has already spoke on the proc. So is there anybody else that I missed that wanted to speak? I have a bunch of people signed in, but all no's.
I'll speak.
Okay, and you come up and.
I probably didn't check the box.
You didn't, but that's okay. It's open. What's your name?
Christy LaValle.
Okay, Christy, no, you didn't, but I'm gonna check yes for you.
Thank you.
And you just can sit down there, state your name and address, please, my dear.
Christy LaValle, 22866 Sweet Clover Road. One thing I'd like to point out is there's not been complete due diligence done on the plat because there's another whole irrigation ditch that parallels the Boyd across there. It's the Stevens and Linder. And so that ditch is out there, and Jim did call me a week or so ago and talk about moving the Boyd, which makes sense because you don't want to have houses out there with a water easement running kitty corner through the plat. But that needs to be engineered, and it needs to be done correctly, and it will have to be done for the Stevens and Linder as well. The other thing I'd like to say is I too have driven by the subdivision. I believe they said that their houses were in the $500,000 to $700,000 range that they were building. I believe Louise said that at one of the last meetings. The median price per square foot in Delta County is $266 per foot, from what I can tell. And so if you just round it up to 300 to make it easy, you're putting in 1,600 square foot houses on those. And that is not commensurate with the neighborhood at all. You've got $1 million houses in that neighborhood that they're putting these kinds of houses in. So I would really encourage you to consider, I know you can't consider the covenants, which I find almost ridiculous. But I would really can hope that you would consider maybe only allowing 3 houses there. That's what makes the most sense for that area. Maybe they could build one like the one they live in, and that would be more appropriate for the neighborhood we're in.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
No, appreciate the input. Was there anybody else that maybe signed in or did not sign in, but now would like to have a few minutes to speak? Anyone? Because we're gonna bring the applicant up next.
Don't forget, there's someone online.
Oh, sorry. Online, did you have anything you wanted to add? I know, the gal that came up said that you are representing her, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, That was Rhonda. Yes, I did a few things I would like to add. Is now the time?
Sure, go right ahead.
Shelley DeConish, representing Rhonda Hyman and her neighbor, Ms. Martine. They own lots 1 and 2 in Biscuit subdivision. They oppose this application for many reasons. Primarily the covenants, which I understand you aren't going to construe or interpret. But those do create a common and general plan of development for this area, and this proposed 5-lot subdivision is not in keeping with those at all, and probably will result in civil litigation over those covenants to enforce them. Also, there are insignificant conditions on this proposed development. There should be a requirement for more protection for the 2 irrigation lines that have been referenced. I would also add that if the applicant plans to move them, that will require the consent of all of the beneficiaries of that easement pursuant to Colorado law. You can't unilaterally move that. So, and not moving it, it really does need more protection than just being an easement across someone's yard. It's fine if it's a large lot, but with these smaller lots, there are going to be encroachments on it. The condition of no structures isn't sufficient because it does, buried pipes are in the maintenance of them, and the repair of them is impeded by more than just a structure. Trees, tree roots, other improvements that you might put on the property can interfere with pipe maintenance. In addition to the septic system should be engineered as mentioned by the state engineer. And I think that should be a condition of approval. And there should also be a requirement that there's a backup septic system. The soils really are challenging here, and that could create some serious problems for the neighborhood. It's not just an individual lots problem. There should probably be some conditions on fencing and clustering for wildlife in accordance with the wildlife report. I don't know if that's appropriate at this stage. Normally it is when you're doing a preliminary plan is when you would have those kinds of restrictions, but those could also be added to a final plat. Things like fencing restrictions and wildlife corridors, those kinds of things. So the primary objection is based on the covenants and that it doesn't fit with the common and general plan of development and the neighborhood, the rural, large lot, agricultural character of the Biscuit subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate that. Jacob, we might have a question for you, ma'am. Hold on 1 second.
Just a question, Shelley, mentioning the irrigation lines, do you have a sufficient suggestion for what a condition on those ditches would be? Do you have anything tangible there?
I think it would be best if it didn't bisect the lot, if it were a tract that could be held by an association of owners, and that it wouldn't be developed at all. It would be open in a width that's sufficient for, backhoes and vehicles to maintain, so that access to it would not be impeded.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Shelley West online? There are no additional questions, Shelley. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so at this point, I think everybody in the audience, public hearing, you've already spoken, correct? Or for those of you that want to speak? Okay, let's bring the applicant up and have you address the requirement that had been missed the first time, which was the meeting requirements. And state your full name and address, sir.
Jim Barnard. I live at 8941 2100 Road in Austin. And just kind of a brief overview of our neighborhood meeting. It was pretty much
the same things that you've heard here. Some of the main ones were the irrigation pipes that we're speaking of. The SNL representatives were here for that meeting. And says that they want to know how we would address the line crossings for our accesses. And with myself and Mr. Olson, we had proposed steel casing them and then also concrete casing around their pipes where the road was going to go. And they seemed like that was a sufficient mediation to that problem. They also want to make sure that they had an easement running on the east to west along the subdivision road. And at that meeting, I had to check with our surveyor the way he had set it up, but there is on the plat map, there is an easement that is dedicated just for them on that side of the property.
Brittany, can you bring that plat map back up, please? Keep talking, I'm just gonna have her bring that up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then making sure there would be access to buried pipelines, easements. There's an access for the pipelines already in the preliminary plat. That's referring to alongside the road that I was just speaking of. And I did speak with Ms. LaValle there about the possibility of moving the pipelines, if that was even a possibility. And she did say it was, that I would have to draw up a proposal and have it engineered and such. And that, and then I spoke with, and I apologize, I don't have his name, from the SNL. Lyle. And he was talking about that as well. He said he would have to talk to some other people to find out, you know, what all would entail of moving those, if they would even want to move theirs that runs alongside the Boyd. We did hire an engineer to come out and do the soil profile inspection of the holes. We did 3 random holes throughout the lot. And he said, I've got a letter from him here. He said that it was pretty much the typical soil types for that area, and he didn't see any issues with gravity systems. Of course, we would be doing once, if however many lots you guys approve, at that point, we'll do the perk test for each individual lot to assess what size and then have those engineered. So, and then as you heard from Mr. Olson, the concerns about enough water on the 4 additional water taps as well. Orchard City did a feasibility study at the end of last year and said that they have the pipeline capacity and the water storage to accommodate the taps that were sold to us for that. So that's kind of a brief overview of the neighborhood meeting.
Okay, hold on a second. Questions to the applicant? Now's a good time.
How strongly opposed are you to just doing the three lots and the 3 houses? I feel like that would really kind of take care of a lot of the issues here, maybe save you civil litigation.
So, can you hear in the back okay? Okay, speak up.
Barely.
Sorry, okay. I saw a bunch of ears moving forward, so I asked. Go ahead, Victoria, sorry.
Just civil litigation is very expensive, and it sounds like it's where you're going. You want people against you on this. And you know, 3 lots could still be very viable, beneficial for you guys, and maybe you could use the money from the 2 additional houses to do a little bit bigger of houses. How strongly are you opposed to that?
We are opposed to it for the main thing is that the price of the lot, when we had done the research and looked through this, the price of that 10 acres was 270,000 plus the water taps. And so our cost up front just to go into it would barely be covered by going at it with the 3. The 5 is really where the profit would wind up coming from.
And your 5 lot though, your acres on these 5 lots though are substantially less than your neighbors that are bordering you. Would you agree?
I would say, yeah, to the ones immediately bordering me across the street, you know, the
Right.
lots do start to get smaller and,
You mean larger?
no.
Westridge subdivision.
They start to get
That's-
smaller.
Okay.
But the houses aren't that small.
No.
In Westridge. We don't big size homes.
We're not building anything less than 1,800 square feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Additional questions for this applicant?
When did you buy the property?
Last November.
Other questions? Okay, thank you, sir, for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's open this back up to discussion. Jacob, do we want to start with you or?
Yeah, it sounds like there's been some due diligence done, particularly with the irrigation lines, you know, that looks good. I know we can't weigh in on the covenants, which is frustrating. But taking that hat off, just as a neighbor, just, you know, I understand the profit isn't there, but maybe that wasn't the property to buy if you were gonna split a room of 5. So my initial thoughts are, you know, 5 doesn't fit. It's hard, because it does fit, you know, across the street, like they said, if you look at the map, everything to the east is, you know, minus. But it did buy property in a subdivision that had these covenants that are just blatantly, you know, not listening to those. And like Victoria said, you know, they want to pursue it and go to civil litigation, which sounds like it's going to. It's on them, but, yeah, it's hard for me to. But we don't have any teeth to say no. But that's kind of where I'm thinking, so.
Okay. Tony, any comments, sir? Matt?
Well, Cedar Edge did conclude that this was part of their growth area, correct?
Yeah.
Orchard City, so the city planners there saw the feasibility of this going forward. I don't know, maybe that's what Mr. Barnard's thought was along the same lines. And how long have these covenants been in place? You know?
Since 2005.
Since 2005. Nearly 20 years.
And it sounds like it, even though we, you know, we can't
Yeah, we
interpret
can't
them,
hit on them. I
we
just-
can recommend or we can.
I just hate to see a battle ensuing with the community up there when one property owner has the right to subdivide. And another property owner says, no, you don't, and we're gonna see you in court. I just hate to see that happen. Just as a comment,
No,
but I think Mr. Barnard has every right to subdivide as much as he wants, like any other landowner. That's all.
Lane?
I couldn't support it the way it looks right now. No matter where you place the houses, everything's gonna have a negative impact on the ditch that runs through there. And most of the perk tests around Cedar Edge, they require a engineered septic system. And that runs into a lot of money. And the other gentleman that spoke earlier said that, he didn't know how much water there was going to be for grass and trees this year. Well, I just spoke with my ditch rider a week ago. He said the reservoirs are just about empty right now. He said, we've only got 75% of our decree, and he said that's going to go down in the next month. So you can kind of figure there's gonna be a repeat of 2002, if you remember what that was like. And if anybody tries to put in grass or trees in this subdivision as projected right here, they would burn up totally because there's not gonna be any irrigation water for lawns and trees this year. So the way this is, 3 lots, I would maybe go along with, but I wouldn't go along with 4 the way that, or 5 the way that's it.
So I'm really conflicted, because, with the zoning that's in place, which, we have to go with, I don't believe, fits the character of that neighborhood on that side of the road. I think that zoning should have stopped at 23-25 road. Cause all those properties to the other side are much larger, sans one. I've got concerns with, I think that others do about the easements and the irrigation, and how that construction is gonna be. It's gonna be a requirement that the septic systems are engineered. or that's a recommendation, so I don't have as big a concern about that particular part of it, but really torn because I don't think it fits that area.
Victoria, we'll go to you, then we'll come back.
I agree with what's been said. I think it's. I'm also torn because, you know, I believe in property rights. I believe you should be able to subdivide within reason, as long as it's not affecting your neighbor's health or safety. I completely understand and empathize with the issues that this is gonna bring, but we don't have a lot of backing to deny him this. However, I do think that we could put more restrictions and kind of safe nets in place to make sure that the neighbors are as happy as they can be if this does happen. So I have a few suggestions that kind of were touched on in public comment. So we did get a letter from some septic. What was it? The Colorado Geological Survey. They said that, you know, their recommendation was to have designed by an engineer septic systems, which as far as I know, is a requirement of development. But they also recommend that we have a backup system. And I remember we talked about last time doing an above ground system possibly. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I don't know if that would be any better, but some kind of backup system. I think would be a good idea in this case because of the major concern around the septic systems. And the letter that we have saying that there is a reason for concern. So I'd like to see some kind of language on a backup system. Also, the lighting for this subdivision, I think there should be hooded lighting to protect. Okay. And then the irrigation, I think that's a huge deal, just because there are so many fights and lawsuits that commence because of irrigation issues. And I think that, you know, like the attorney was saying, that just having an easement doesn't necessarily mean that that's gonna be respected or not developed on. So I'd like to change some of the language, maybe, we'll get to that, but just as a suggestion to everyone that we could change it to no development on the easement instead of no structures or tree, or, you know, maybe add in trees and stuff like that. And then if it was a possibility to move the ditches, and that was something you could get the companies to agree to avoid all of this issue with the irrigations, that would obviously be ideal. I do think it's gonna be a bit tight, but there are, you know, to address the wildlife concerns, now we have a condition about the fencing and the clustered subdivisions, so it'll kind of mitigate a little bit of that. That's all I have.
Thank you. So I agree with different parts of what other members have said. Of course, we originally, when this happened and was in front of us, it was brought up about potentially having them, and I think even some of the public comment was about going potentially from 5 lots to 3, if that would be maybe a consideration. Tonight, what I heard from the applicant is that he doesn't want to consider that, he'd rather keep it at 5. I just think that's a lot of concentration, not only on residences, on wildlife, not only on the irrigation water that we already have as a present issue, but many people brought up and many people know that area. I just think with that, it's a lot of concentration. On top of that, obviously, we have a covenant that we cannot comment on and open up because it's beyond our purview of what we're allowed to look at. Our job is to look at public comment, to talk to the applicant, to discuss amongst each other, and also to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners what we think our recommendations could be, or additional suggestions we think could be. That's what our scope is. So I want to really be careful or very clear about what we're able to do. So that's why a lot of us kind of tiptoe around the word covenants, or even when an irrigation comes up with that about what we think somebody should do. the irrigation companies know what's required and sort of the applicants when they start to apply for this stuff. So, just so we're clear. So, I'm conflicted as well to be able to pass something, knowing that I think it's going to, as Lane said, it's gonna create something of a bigger cluster, I think, with a lot of you. And again, we saw a lot of public comment last time. We saw a lot of public now, and I have yet to see somebody that feels that their questions have been answered sufficiently enough that they still feel that they would be fine with watching this being developed. So that would be my comments. Anything else that we can think of? Sean, do you or your staff any additional stuff that we need to be?
I just wanted to clarify that all OWTS systems that are installed in the county have to be engineered
Yeah,
to be permitted.
correct.
And that the comment by the Colorado Geological Survey specifically was that the site soils are very limited in suitability for conventional septic tank absorption fields due to low permeability and slow infiltration rates. If on-site wastewater treatment systems are planned, they will probably need to be designed by an engineer. They have to be designed by an engineer. Since engineered designed septic systems tend to require more maintenance, I don't really understand what that means personally, and have shorter lifespans than conventional systems. I don't know what this means. A backup OWS location should be identified on each new lot. So I understand that to mean that another soil absorption area has to be designated in the plan so that if the one soil absorption area begins to fail, you can relocate the soil absorption area. Is that how you would understand that, Tony? You're an installer, aren't you? So just to be clear on that.
I would also like to add, like I know a lot of people are wanting the 3-lot subdivision, however, the applicant is proposing a 5-lot, not a 3-lot.
Correct.
So it doesn't sound like he wants to go back and revise his plat. So what is set forward is the 5-lot, so that's what you need to make a motion on.
Thank you for clarifying that. Anything else that we have before we have somebody do a motion forward on this? Okay. Some of you are pretty boisterous, or that'd be a good word I would use this evening. Does anybody have anything else they want to add or ask? We actually have already done public comment, so thank you.
It was just on the cost thing,
Okay,
where he said, because when he approached us.
but yeah, that's okay, thank you. Okay, so do we have a motion? Would somebody make a motion on? Oh, do you want to go back to something first? Okay. You bet. Take your time.
Let's go through again, just kind of come over.
Okay.
Revise them if we feel the need. So it was mentioned that there's another ditch that was not shown on the plat. Is that?
Sorry to cut you off. This is just the prelim, so I mean, we still have time to add all of those, and I do believe it is a condition that all road right of ways, ditch easements, all of that stuff has to be on the final plat before it gets recorded.
What's on the proposed preliminary plat right now is a 20-foot utility and irrigation easement on the border of the property where it borders 2325 road.
And that's to accommodate all irrigation companies. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a pipeline running catty corner across this property?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 of them.
Okay, so anyway, so
Victoria.
I guess my concern is can we put them on one side of the property and put them in a right of way instead of an easement? Can we put them on the edges and run them around the edges and leave that 20-foot right of way for the ditch companies? I mean, 20 foot, I don't know how big these pipelines are, how big, 18 inches?
Yeah,
But-
ours is 12, our Ethanol is 12. And the Boyd is 12.
So you can run them side by side, and 20 foot's barely enough to work on them. If something happens, 25 would be better. And Can you,
Depends on what direction the water is going to, because your pipe for the void is going across the property because it goes farther down west of her. That now I get mine north and south, but a lot of them go east and west on the SNL.
we got water running two
Yeah,
different directions?
A
on
lot
the
of different
property?
directions. You got Fog and everybody who are going off the SNL. They're.
I'm just talking about the ones that are running catty corner across the property. There's two
That's the
pipelines.
those are the major lines.
Okay, and they both run different directions?
No, they run.
Okay, so, no, it's a cluster. So there is a way to run them on the property edges and clean it up and put a right of way there instead of, because the right of way is better than easement, right? And give them access to that whenever, however, and get them out of the subdivision, so it's a non-issue.
Yeah, if you can move.
You can't, they make equipment to move them.
No, I don't know if they agree.
Well, I know, but that should be that eliminates one problem.
Can I just make one comment about that? So that requires 2 right angles
Mhm.
to do that. And it will go downhill and then it will go back uphill to get to where it needs to go. And that could be well, I'm not a water engineer, but I just want that information out there.
Well, that's why you hire an engineer to do it.
Yeah.
And Rhonda, I would like to apologize to you. You had raised your hand to ask a question, but then we did have other people start to talk. So if you would like for just a moment, I would like you just to say what you were gonna say. So I don't feel like Rhonda, right? Right? Just stand up and just tell, we already are in, but I just feel that we kind of let everybody else start talking and not listen to you from it.
When they came to show us their plans,
Uh-huh.
they told us they were building a house for their daughter,
Mm-hmm.
they were building a house for another family member.
Okay.
So then number 3 house breaks even, so they need to build 5 houses to make money.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no reason to lie, that's what came out of their mouths when they came to show us what they were gonna do. And it's just like, why don't you just build 3 nice houses on 3 acres?
But it sounds like, right, you don't need to come back up. No, you don't need to come back up. In reality, what Brittany was very clear on is that this is showing as a 5 lot.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to be considering, not considering if it was reduced to 3 or, I know, I appreciate that, but she did clarify that for us, so we have to continue that way.
If water line to here, come down, this is the ridge. They talked about going here and then come down to that. Sure would be sufficient if the grade does fall.
And then what's that upper easement line thing up there?
That's the domestic water line easement.
Okay.
The problem with the land, this comes this way, and this way.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So this all sets on the crown, so if you run it here, it's gotta go uphill. Well, during the winter, that water's gonna sit in there and it will freeze.
Okay.
I'd just like to make a point of order real quick, but we need to be careful that we're talking about irrigation. This is not a county purview,
Correct.
and I'd like to just make that a point of fact here in this conversation.
Thank you. Appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you. Okay.
Can I add a comment to that? 80% of all calls to the sheriff's department in the summer are water issues, 80%. So for any group in the county to say they don't deal with water is nuts. And I know that can't be changed here, but
Yeah.
the sheriff's department gives a water law class to their deputies every year because 80% of their calls are water disputes.
And unfortunately, that's not our, unfortunately, I
understand.
I do
but
apologize
that
for
is
that, but the clarity is important. Okay, Mr. Matt,
No further comments.
Mr. Lane, anything further on your end? Lance? Victoria? Okay. So we are now at the juncture of whether we feel that we can make a motion or a motion with recommendations on what we're seeing this evening, which again, Brittany was very clear that it's going to be 5 lots. Not anything that would reduce at this point.
We have the written proposal up there.
We do, this is the draft conditions of the approval. Want to read through them, but that is also the 5 lots and
This is only your 3 if you.
there's like 12 of them, I believe.
Yeah.
14, sorry, 14, sorry.
I think those address a lot of the issues, they've proven water supply. If there's water.
If there's water.
Anybody. I make a motion that we approve Mr. Barnard's request for a 5-lot development. Because he has the right to do that
Staff condition.
with the conditions that are listed, 1 through 13. 1 through 14.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. That it would approve all 5 lots with all 14 conditions at this point. Do we have a second? Or,
I'll second it.
okay. Now we're gonna have to go around and do a vote, so let's be really one by one.
Discussion.
We can do a discussion.
Discussion.
We can do a discussion first, let's do a discussion. Sorry,
I would still like to see the language changed on number 12.
okay, number 12. What is it that you,
No development. Within the irrigation easement running through the lot,
Number 13.
or 13, I'm sorry, yes.
So
You
no
want no
development
development?
instead of structures.
so number 13, you'd want no development.
Right, because like the attorney says, I mean, you're talking about a pipeline, tree roots can easily crack into that, cause big issues.
Being the way that pipeline runs through there, and they have stated there is a way to put it on property boundaries.
It's not a condition of approval though.
But could we make that a condition of approval that the pipeline gets re-engineered and moved to the property boundaries? Because
I'm not
we
sure you can
have
make that
setbacks
We can.
to keep.
I don't think you make that a condition because
That
it'd
would
be
be
contingent.
that would be a
upon-
personal landowner, irrigation company agreement on what to do. with
And
that
it's us
pipe.
trying to take water, which we want to stay out of.
Yep, we want to stay out of the water.
So that would have to be, well, then,
We couldn't do no development because there's a road going on top of some of it, which it sounds like the ditch companies are okay with as long as they fix it.
Yeah. We might want to strike 13 from the list.
Well, no, the structures are okay, but yeah, if we say development, the road, yeah. Like a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, you can't put a structure on top of irrigation.
Okay.
but those easements get so easily screwed up in the real world.
Civil matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go again, yeah. A lot of this is civil,
All right,
so let's, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second, and we did open it for discussion. Anything else on discussion? Okay, we're gonna open it up to a vote. Jacob, let's start with you if it's okay, sir. Are you approving or not approving of this? No? Okay, go across, keep coming, Tony.
yes,
Yes,
Yes.
Nay.
Lance,
Nay.
I'm a nay.
Also nay.
Okay, so with that vote that we have, our cash should be a nay on this particular project, correct?
Then we need to, so I'd move to deny,
Mm-hmm.
ELN,
Okay,
or dash 071.
speak up a little louder so that she catches you.
Move to the ELN 24-071. Based on input from public comments. That's all.
Okay,
Would second that.
Thank you. And I think we should do an all in favor of the denial. Should we? I think we should do that as well. Okay, with Jacob's denial comment, all in favor? Aye. Comments from staff at all? Okay, the next step for this applicant, is there a next step for them? That's right. Do you want to explain that to them, Sean, real quick, so they know that, please?
Your hearing will be scheduled with the BOCC. There'll be 2 weeks of public notice given in the paper and then to the neighbors. There'll be a public hearing similar to this, and then the county commissioners will decide on your application based upon the recommendation from the PC. The date for that. I should really can say the date here.
So our recommendation will go to the BOCC. What Sean's looking at right now is that approximately 2 weeks from this evening, the applicants will have the same opportunity to go in front of the BOCC. There'll be public comment at that time as well, and then the Board of County Commissioners then can make the final decision.
I think it'll be the June 17th.
He believes it'll be June 17th for those in the back that
Not scheduled.
it's not scheduled yet, so you'd have to. But the property owners would all be, that board of this would be all notified of this.
Yeah.
It would also be, it'd also be listed and go
All
from there.
adjacent property by similar value by this public hearing. Also to be published in High Country Spotlight 2 weeks in advance of the scheduled hearing. And be posted on the property as well.
Okay. And I want to thank everybody for not only their public comment, but for the applicants going and meeting with the neighborhood to come up with hopefully some resolution. And the next level is the Board of County Commissioners, and we'll see where it takes you from there. And I wish you all luck and hope you can work through this. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
What did you say?
It's usually about two, that's why I was repeating what he said. It's usually about 2 weeks, but it'll be posted as of right now. The preliminary tentative date would be
Tentative date of June 17th, Tuesday, 10 a.m.
8.
That's tentative.
But that's tentative. You'll receive a letter. Well, I am, she was asking a quick review. Okay, we are closing this meeting this evening.
Thank you.
That's Deborah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, sorry, I knew. Brittany, we had to do a staff report, that's why I didn't do it, but. Yeah. Just so you know, that's why I didn't close it. That's okay. Well, let's just wait and see if there's something you guys needed to add, I guess, real quick. Okay.
Still rest one, right? No, I thought,
Hold on. Okay, we still have just a quick staff report before we go. Brittany was excited about me hitting the gavel, but I knew we hadn't done it yet. No, you were, you gave me the stink eye. Gave me the stink eye, saw it. Doug? Sir?
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate
I don't know if I raised the bar, but at least I'm not below it, so I'm trying. I appreciate the input. Have a good evening. Okay, so we are closed we just have a staff comment now. Thank you for your time this evening. Rhonda, thank you.